2020, as horrible as it's been on the outside, I think has really been a revelation
On the inside.
On the inside for a lot of people who, like myself,
yeah.
needed to pump the brakes. You know, like you want to be in shape, but you only want to do so much.
Exactly.
Like, you know,
It's like I want to be in shape, but I still want that junior bacon cheeseburger.
I still want a
from-
junior bacon cheeseburger.
I never in my life have ever been so
I think you
drained.
told me this story. Yeah.
Ever.
Just handed
I
Maddie at the
literally,
door.
as soon as she walked in, I was like, yo, here you
I
go.
remember.
I'm out.
Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of Calling All Dads, the podcast where dad jokes are never frowned upon. I'm your co-host Dom, and here, as always, with my brother Ralph. What's going on, bro?
It's been a nice, interesting week. By the way, thank you for everybody that subscribed, liked the videos, posted about it. Thank you so much. It's truly a blessing to see how many people actually, you can actually impact, or at least even the slightest impacts in their lives. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Yeah, definitely thank you to, I think, even starting anything, whether it's podcast, YouTube channel, I think the support from your circle, or at least whether it's a close
absolutely.
circle or this first circle, I think is the biggest appreciation you would have
Yeah.
for anything, because that really kind of lets you know, okay, who, not to sound petty, but
No,
kind of let you know,
But it kind of lets you know, like, the
yeah,
people
okay,
that
like
are there.
who are
Yeah.
undoubtedly like, okay, Ralph's doing something, Dom's doing something, I'm just gonna give him a follow. It can be the crappiest thing
Yeah.
they probably ever created, but
It's probably the worst thing I've
Yeah.
ever watched in my life.
but hey, let's give them support and see where this goes, and that's that's pretty much what we're doing in a sense. But the amount of love and support from my friends, Ralph's friends,
Yeah.
family, definitely inspiring, definitely
Absolutely.
motivating for us.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here for episode 2, because we
Another
want to see
round.
where this goes. Definitely hope to again keep providing some insight on the dad perspective, the male
Yes.
perspective.
Yeah.
Again, kind of like what I mentioned on our Instagram post. This is all inclusive. This is not. Well,
Yeah.
It's calling all dads, but
But
women are more than welcome to
welcome,
listen, obviously,
absolutely.
so you can get a little insight on how
we
know,
do it, how we feel,
your
what we
spouse is
see.
thinking.
Yeah. And you know what? Honestly, I actually want to take the time to say something about that, because one of the messages that I got was from a friend of mine, and she said that she loved the podcast, she loved the video, it was great, she loved the energy, and she doesn't even have kids.
Oh,
So, she said that it's not something where you have to tune in if you only have kids, or if you're a dad, or if you're a mom. Like, you can tune in and then kind of gain, like, insights if you're looking to have children, if you want, like, to gain a little bit of information, like, from that aspect of it.
yeah.
Which I thought was actually pretty cool, because I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty down to earth guys. We don't, we're dads, but we're cool somewhat. I guess that's what all dads say at this point. It's kind of embarrassing. We're
That
cool.
is.
We're cool dads.
We're turning into our dads.
But the support, the love, is definitely awesome, and let me just say the feedback's gonna be just as awesome. I know my wife had some great feedback in regards to like the YouTube clips,
Yeah.
the podcast in general, and we'll take that just as much as we'll take the love, because again, this is something we want to do, but we also want to take you guys along for the adventure. So if the ride's too long, like I've heard,
Yeah.
if the ride's too long, we'll make it short for everybody, so everybody can enjoy it. Get off at the next stop, and we can keep this moving without boring everybody with our dadness.
No, man. Yeah, listen, again, I think this is my almost complete third full week back at work, and I definitely miss spending time at home. Not particularly at home, but like just like the family time, I guess.
Yeah.
I've been lacking on it. I find myself calling Matthew and Kathy all the time now, because like I want to I want to see them. I want to say to most of the people out there, a lot of people are starting to come back. So I know that it could be a little weird at first. I guess recreating your habits from work, and flexing on your schedules and stuff like that. Just try to persevere with it. Don't forget what you've learned throughout the pandemic, and with everything else going on. But at the same time too, like, try to take it to a new light. For me personally, I grew in that aspect. Like, before, I was so used to and focused on going to work, working 10, 12-hour days, coming home, putting Matthew to sleep, and then that's it. That's the end of the day.
In the minimum. a sense.
Yeah, and that's basically doing the minimum.
Yeah.
Now it's more like, oh, I need to make sure that I work out earlier so that when he wakes up, I can bring him his milk, his bottle. Kathy usually does the morning feed and the changing the diapers, but I like to bring him his milk and like play with him a little bit right before I go to work. So I want to make sure that like people understand that like while you're going back to work, it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to go back to that schedule. There's ways to grow. There's ways to discipline yourself better. But like I don't want to say budget, but budget your schedule.
Yeah, budget your time. Budget. I
Yeah,
get what you mean.
absolutely. I think that that's something that's very, very important and something that I've definitely grown with in this time.
Yeah, I mean, I agree because I think again, this pandemic for a lot of people, again, has exposed either the weaknesses, the flaws, or the lack of appreciation. And it's not a knock on whether it's fatherhood, whether it's parents in general, humans in general. Sometimes you take things for granted because this world just moves too fast sometimes.
Yes.
And like you said, you're caught up more on the taking care of your family aspect versus like the integration of like the caring aspect, which I think to kind of open up a good conversation is like one of those conversations that in a biased / stereotypical way is something that is seen through fatherhood. Like, the dads are usually the ones that lack that emotional aspect of the child's relationship.
Absolutely.
And that's something where, even myself, I can't say that I've had the same effect because I worked from home before it was cool. So nothing changed for me. Again, as a network engineer, things just got busier on my end, and the cycle was just the same because the girls didn't go to school. They went to my mother-in-law's, and that process still changed. But I guess in the same respect, the lack of having anything to do, like it wasn't like, okay, they came home and then all right, cool, let me go to Ralph's, maybe we can go to sports bar, watch a game, grab something to eat. Like, no, you got to stay home.
You got to stay home now.
So, I did, still get to get some of that in some extent, where you get to, we'll call it forcefully spend time with the kids and, see how they interact and kind of you see things you would normally miss because, you're too busy jumping from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. You're not really taking time to slow down. Okay, are your children good, more than just financially or house-wise or food-wise, but emotionally and
like,
all that other
are they
stuff.
good? Like, I definitely, like, I miss it. You know what I mean? Perfect example. In the morning, the first thing Matthew always does is, like, he jumps on Kathy and drums on her head. It's like, mama, 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 which I think is adorable because I get to sleep in and watch it a little bit. And, she loves it, but I can see how it would, kind of get on her nerves a little. But, I kind of miss that, you know what I mean? And now, I don't get to see dad, come here. Or, you're missing things, you know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of people are going to take it like, oh, like my job is taking something from me. Or they're either going to take it that way or the other avenue where you could, oh, no, I just got to go back to work. And, it's whatever happens at the house. Like, I don't, as long as I provide financially, then that's good enough. And I feel like it needs to be said that isn't okay anymore.
No,
Like,
it's not.
A father figure needs to be there. A father figure needs to be present, you know what I mean, for his kids. I can't wait till things open back up safely. Obviously, I'm not trying to like rush and jump back into, society, but I would love to take Matthew to a park. I want to see how he responds to going down the swing for the first time, the slide, I'm sorry, and playing in a park with other kids, which is why I was telling you earlier that like I loved the fact that the girls came over yesterday because he got to interact with other kids and like just watching that bond and like watching how he plays and he's growing and it's so it's satisfying.
Yeah, it's like not to make it seem like they're, but it's like National Geographic. Sometimes you're watching stuff because you're so intrigued about the reaction and then the environment and what's going on. Like people don't realize, okay, you're watching a cheetah do its thing, and that's just the cheetah, being itself in its natural habitat. Same thing with kids. You're like wonder like. I watch my girls all the time, like, they're like, a cheetah in the grass. Like, what are you? You try to figure out, like, how those gears are turning. Like, what are you looking at? Why are you looking at that? And what are you about to do?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
And then you see it happening, like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I can see why that,
And it's crazy in that sense, because, again, I think, to your point, where you mentioned like you feel, or some people are going to feel like their jobs are taking away something from them.
Yeah.
I think this is going to, again, just more so reawaken everybody's priorities.
Yes.
And I've seen a lot of companies do that. My wife's company, she works for Spin Master.
Nice.
And they've kind of tuned in at least to the, I want to call it, to the overall opinions and feelings of their staff and their employees, where a lot of people just they're not ready to come back in the office. Whether it's again because they're getting that same time, things are comfortable, they're scared of the COVID, still lingering. But I think again in that same respect, you're gonna want to pull back. Like you're gonna realize, okay, do I really need to do all this?
Yeah.
And is it worth the time that I'm sacrificing, not spending
Absolutely,
with
yeah.
my family at home? And I think that's awesome. I think 2020 is as horrible as it's been
Oh, man.
on the outside. I think has really been a revelation
On the inside.
On the inside for a lot of people who, like
Wow,
myself,
yeah.
needed to pump the brakes.
Yeah, man. Like I like to say that like I'm always been like about that fast life. So it's like everything has to constantly be moving. When we first started, we found out Matthew was pregnant. It was like, Kathy was pregnant with Matthew. Okay, so Kathy's pregnant. Okay, then it's a baby shower. Then you got to start looking into where are you guys gonna stay with him. At the time we were fortunate. Again, her parents took us in, and I love that. And I learned what it was like to be a family, like to provide and to want to do things better because I learned that aspect from her father, and then watching her mom now, like you gain an appreciation because you have to understand that life is about work. Yeah, I'm not saying like quit your job and stay home.
Yeah,
and
no, please.
see what happens, roll the dice. No,
We do not promote
but
that.
at the same time, like you shouldn't prioritize your job over your family.
Agreed.
And I always read this quote everywhere. I'm pretty sure most people have seen it somewhere at some point by whatever. I don't know who said it, but it was like you're killing yourself at your job for a job that would literally replace you
the next
if you
day.
died today, tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like there's some truth to that. Look, I'm not saying that all people are replaceable. Obviously not. Maybe your job is a little bit harder or more. You're more intuitive about it. You see things differently, so your perspective has
replaceable.
changed. Yeah, but you're still replaceable.
It's still replaceable. Yeah.
And then that's the point of it. It's like you're not replaceable to your family. Your job's gonna have somebody replace you, but what about your family? Like, I'm not saying quit your job and your job sucks and no,
Yeah,
no, screw
We're
that.
not
No,
promoting
no.
that. Again,
But
disclaimer.
again, like because I don't want anybody to be
Yeah.
like, I quit my job because you
Or
said
the first
so.
5 minutes, and then they're throwing the pink slips and everything.
No, but again, like it's you have to find again the balance. You
Yeah.
have to find that balance where your family is your priority, and
Yeah, and that's what I wanted. I would even consider a balance. Because balance is saying, okay, this is 50-50.
50-50. Yeah,
I
you're
think
right.
it should be more like a 60-40, 70-30. Again, there's some revelation in hindsight of what's happened at these times. Kind of like,
Absolutely.
there's at least, again, and given that I guess I feel I live the fast life, I'm always very opportunistic. I'm always looking for the next endeavor.
Yes.
I mean, there's always a way to make money, and you kind of have to find that work to life balance. Like I love my job now. I work from home, and I think they have a good understanding of like, sometimes stuff will need to get done at 5. Like we've had some projects like maybe like a 5:36, and they'll literally ask me like, "Hey Dom, are you available?" Like they really take
Nice.
into account my availability versus like, "Okay Dom, like I know we're not supposed to stay, but can you?" Versus it's more like if you have something to do, let us know,
And then
we'll adjust.
Wow.
Versus Dom, can you adjust for us?
That's a great company to work for. Then.
Yeah, so that's one of the things where even working this job, I'm like, okay, cool. Like it helps me see it better as well.
Of course.
Versus not feeling that pressure. Like, okay, if I don't do this, then
It's like what's gonna happen tomorrow?
Yeah, what's
Like,
gonna happen?
Am I
Am I
gonna be
gonna have
called
a
into the
job?
office? Like, am I gonna
So,
be expecting the email? Yeah.
it's, again, I don't want to call it balance. I think again, priority should always be the family.
Yeah.
And then everything else just find a
It
way.
just that's where like the dominoes always stack, but the top stack has to be the family, in my opinion. Especially with everything that's gone on now. Again, I have to work, so I work. But I do miss the time. I do, and I try. And honestly, if I have to say one thing that I've taken away from this whole pandemic and this terrible situation that a lot of people are in right now, I will definitely say that for me, I'm a way better time manager Before, I used to not care about anything regarding time. I would show up late to things.
So I know. So I know.
But hey, I would show up, right? I would be there. So,
Into-
fashionably late, I like to call
Fashionably,
it. But yeah, no, like I'm way better with my time management. Like, before, if I was a few minutes late to work, I wouldn't really care. Again, they're usually very lax at my job, so like they won't really like ride me too much, especially like if I come in a few minutes late, which I'm grateful for. I mean, now I don't do it, but it's because like now I have to know, like, I wake up at 5:36. I read for the first 30 minutes of the day, have my coffee, and pre-workout in whatever order it works out for that day, and then I work out, come back in, take a shower, bring up the milk for Matthew, play with him for a few minutes, and then I'm off to work. But the second my time is done at work, I'm out of work. Like, work is not something where I'm like, I have to stay here 12, 15 hours. No, like, no more of that, man. Like, I praise the people that still do it, because at my job people still do it, and I praise them. I see myself from before in them, but now it's more like my focus is different.
It's different. Yeah. I mean, it's a great revelation. One of those silver linings in the madness,
Yes.
where again things hopefully change. Again, whether it's parental wise, whether it's father wise, for a lot of families going forward, and hopefully we aren't the only ones that have experienced such a revelation, which I doubt.
No, yeah. I don't see that. I don't think that this could be something that happens to so many people, and people still like don't learn anything from it. You know what I mean?
I beg to differ, but
I'm very hopeful, I guess.
that ship has sailed for good old Dom. I used to believe in humanity, but
I like to believe in the better side of humanity. You know what I mean? I'm a big Superman fan. Obviously, hope.
I'm on the darkness.
I know.
I'm the Batman side. I know there's good people out there.
There are.
But
And look, the good outweigh the bad, in my opinion.
always.
You know what I mean?
Always,
Like,
always.
If you got to do it percentage-wise, I think that, I want to say 95% of the people are good. And they want to be better, and they want to do good. And, they just need that one example that's like, to cling on to, That's also something else that I wanted to say. I know a lot of people that do things, like regular day things, but they post about it. And you have no idea what that post influentially will, like, how it affects somebody else. Like, perfect example. I know a mom. She lives in town, so I won't say her name, but she great mom, has 2 kids. She wakes up like around 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to work out.
Wow.
And it's just seeing that. It's like, yeah, you're a mom, you work, you have 2 kids, and on top of it, you still wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning.
It's knowing it's possible.
Yeah. So one day, someone I know, a mutual friend of ours, reacted to her post, and she was like, "Oh, you know what? I started working out because of you." So it just hit me. It's like, look, she's doing something that's great for her. Obviously, she's driven by it, she's passionate about it, but it's something of her regular day-to-day schedule, and it inspired someone else to start doing something. So I always feel like a lot of people just need like a better example, or a good example, a positive example to draw off of.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just like pretty much I would consider it very relatable to my faith, and we talk about how to stay on the right path and things like that, and for me and my faith, that's Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I'm a proud Christian, and again, it's having had that example, having had the Bible, and knowing things are possible. Obviously, sets the tone. Okay,
Exactly.
It's not impossible, and I think it's the same thing. Hopefully, for this podcast, for us, again, sharing fatherhood experiences.
Yes.
Again, sharing the struggle, sharing everything in between.
Because you have to. You
And
know?
yeah, you can't
It's
just
not all
it
cakes
can't-
and rainbows. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
it can't just be an Instagram highlight. With best way to kind of compare
No,
it.
yeah.
That way, people know that there's gonna be those hard situations
Absolutely.
amongst all that hard work, regardless of how hard you're working and how hard and how great you believe it should be
Yeah.
because you're working hard. There's always gonna be those downfalls, and again, this is that conversation, those avenues that we hope to open up. Where
Absolutely.
I think Ralph's a great father. I think I'm okay. I'm a pretty good father myself.
I think
and,
you're an amazing father.
We both have lives, and
Yeah.
we both do our own thing, and all have flaws.
Yeah, but it's possible to have flaws, and that's what makes you human. That's what makes you, You know what I mean? Like, that's who you are. Those moments, they define you. But it's how you respond that, build
Agreed.
you or bring you down, I think.
Agreed. And I think, again, from a dad male perspective, I think the issue with that sometimes with dads is the pride aspect.
Oh,
And
dude, yes.
and the stereotypical macho man dad,
I
you're
can do
never
everything.
wrong, I can do everything,
I'm always right. Yeah, man.
and I'll be the first to admit I've had that perspective, and I've had that, what's the word I want to use? I've had that livelihood embedded in my DNA, not necessarily from my upbringing, but just from things I've seen, maybe TV, movies, all those influential things that we just
absolutely
kind of watch and think that has no effect on us.
But it does.
It does, and sometimes that's hard for us as men, as fathers, to put that down, to put that aside, to be sensitive, to be emotional. One thing that I loved and kind of again gave me a revelation of things was, oddly enough, during like the Super Bowl. I think it was like last year. They had the Dove commercial with dads.
Oh,
Dude,
yes.
Shout out to Dove. We're not getting paid for the promotion, but dude, like that touched me in such a like emotional way, where you saw all these dads being with their
kids,
children,
yes.
and showing love,
Wow,
and all that
man,
stuff that you normally, again, you don't always see. Not that I'm not gonna say it doesn't exist in media or TV shows, but you just don't see, especially like on a commercial like that's fully invested in just promoting. Oh, dude, that brought me to tears. I was like, that's beautiful. Like, that was good to see, because I'm not, I get motivated. There's, oddly enough, like, it's not that I needed it to do it.
Yeah, no, but you needed to see it, and it's kind of like, wow, this isn't a bad thing. Like,
Yes. I'm not, and that's a bad thing. I'm trying to weed out, like, oh, why would you think it's a bad thing, kind of thing. That's not,
no, yeah,
it's not as
okay,
simple
okay.
as that. You get me? Just, again, like, just that, I don't know. Again, that's breaking those barriers, breaking the things that we have grown up to learn, or grown up watching and have been embedded in us, where like we can't cry. Like I've cried so much as a father than I ever than I ever had before then.
Dude,
like
I cried to Ed Sheeran photograph.
Wait, what?
Yeah, listen, look, man, look. I was watching the video, right, and Kathy was at work, and I was off that day or whatever, and I was there with Matthew, and I just put him down for a nap, and this is like, I want to say he was like 2 or 3 months at the time, and I used to drive Kathy crazy because like I had like this like sob like playlist where it's like all R&B or like pop, and it's like. It's like very like
mixtapes.
Yeah.
2000.
So she's like, oh, whatever. But I always used to play it on repeat. And YouTube, man, I'm sorry, like that's exactly what it is. Like YouTube would like put your playlist together for you.
Yeah.
So that song comes on, and I'm seeing the video, and you see Ed Sheeran growing up throughout the video. Where they're like recording him, and like he growing up. And I don't know why.
Yeah, no,
I just
understand.
cried. I was
Dude,
like, I don't know why.
It's just a weird, like, again, like kind of like we mentioned, like when you hear the news, something changes, like the amount of determination and stuff to do things in that same respect. Again, at least for us in this example, that same emotional tick just happened. Like, dude, I cried during Logan.
Oh, at the end,
Oh.
come on.
Oh my God! Like that was such, because I have girls, which
Yeah.
which really kind
It
of
hits home.
that brought that facade and factor in for it. So that scene where this, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, man, it's only been 5 years. I think Samara had just been born, or again, all a blur.
Of
We're
course,
probably gonna be the worst at timelines. Ladies, please forgive us.
We need to get the ladies here for this.
But yeah, I had seen it. I remember Samara being next to me while I was watching it, and then that scene where like he was dying, and
Yeah.
she was like over. I was like, like
Tearjerker.
that was so rough. I'm just like, oh, what's happening to me? What's going on? But yeah, it's just that thing where I've been, I know women go through it. They have an emotional switch,
absolutely.
and they become more sensitive, obviously, because
I mean, come on, that attachment.
that
like,
attachment from the womb. But
Exactly.
it happens for dads too, where something just
it clicks.
it clicks,
And it clicks in like that emotional, like, oh, I was a macho,
Yeah.
I used to bench 315, like, nah.
Like I kind
Yeah.
of understand, like again, that's the stereotypical. They say like women go through like moods, like when they're happy.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
Like that's the way I feel, because I was just like, oh, this is a great movie. Like that was a good action scene. Like
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
pumped on adrenaline,
And then
and then that happened. You're like,
You're like,
this didn't have to happen this way. So dads experience that same thing too. Sometimes we're quick to wipe the tears
Oh,
off
I've been doing that for
and
the
try to
last
hide
5 minutes.
it.
Look.
But like we do experience it, and it's embracing that again, breaking down those walls. Where it wasn't okay to cry or it wasn't okay to be emotional. It was okay to do that. Like, dude, that vulnerability has been such a revelation for me.
Yeah.
Given how again internally and just mentally thinking how I've grown up and matured in a sense, that has been my biggest milestone in regards to like a change in who I am.
Yeah.
That having kids, having that emotional tick, that honestly I don't think I would have if I didn't have my daughters.
Of course. I've always said that, like, I've experienced things differently since Matthew was born.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, things that I used to think were like, oh, this is tolerable. Like, you can let it slide or whatever. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. Or,
Oh,
yeah, it has nothing to do with me, so whatever. It's like now you're just like, nah, that's not okay, man. Like, I wouldn't be all right with that. And, I have a son, and I wouldn't be all right with him doing those things. So, like, you have to implement those things. Again, it's not being, like, a hypocrite or anything. I read something about Steve Jobs, and it was Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. So, on average, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs changed their mind about decisions, like when they were like coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say like every 3 hours. It was like, oh, this is a great idea. No, it's not that great. No, this is a great idea. Oh, we're gonna do it like that. Oh no, let's do it like this. And they would change their minds so much. So, the thing that I got out of that, it's like you're not being a hypocrite or or fake or anything like that, whatever it is that you want to like deem it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that you're being adaptive. Like, things change, and as things change, you have to adapt and evolve. And me right now, like, I look back to some of the things that I used to think were all right, and it's like, nah, that's not me. Like, I don't move like that anymore. That's not all right.
Yeah, that's again, that's adapting, that's growth, that's consideration. Like, sometimes you're looking at things. Perfect engineer. I'm a network engineer. I'm trying to solve a problem with the network, for example, and I'm looking at this one problem one way for like a good 30 minutes, and I can't figure it out. Sometimes I have to take a step back, come back and revisit. I'm like, wait,
why did I even?
Just a fresh mind state. Why didn't I think about it this way? Or
Absolutely.
Or maybe the problem's not the same what I thought it was 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And that's life. I mean, hopefully it's not as wishy-washy with the obvious right and wrong situations.
Oh no. Yeah, of course not.
But I
And
think having that, like you said, especially I guess from when we were younger and when
that was like
that's
a
different
younger
ball
mindset.
game
Yeah.
altogether.
Because, like, I used to think, like, like drinking and partying all day was great, you know what I mean? Especially when I got into my 20s.
Now we're
And now I'm a dad, and I'm like, damn, I hope Matthew doesn't drink and,
I hope he doesn't do
party.
this dumb
Like,
stuff.
oh, man, do you really want to go to a party? Nah, just stay home. Like, you don't want to play, like, your PlayStation? You don't want to do that? You don't want to read a book? School's tomorrow. Like, you don't want to do that?
That's funny, but that changes for a lot of things.
Absolutely.
Like, again, this like we were talking about in the first episode, just the kind of projection now I have of my mom and the way she's taken care of us over the years. Like, if you were to tell me we were poor or we were struggling at any point, I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And to have seen that, to now know all that work it entails, especially my mom kind of pretty much raising us on her own, own, excuse me. It's amazing, especially at that time when again I'm kind of comparing it to 2000, 2010, where again we were talking about the whole money thing.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't miss a meal, I didn't miss a Christmas extravaganza. Like, you couldn't tell me anything was wrong.
Dude, exactly, man. And you know what? Like, thinking back, and just to speak on that, like my mom, I remember, it must not have been easier for her. Like, she stay-at-home mom for, I want to say, till I was like 16, then she started work, 15, then she started working. So stay-at-home mom, 5 kids, that's a lot of laundry, that's a lot of food, that's a lot of meals, and I think back, I told her, I'm like, yo, God bless you, because after having Matthew, just one, not 5, just one.
Remember those days?
It was like, yo, I don't know how you managed to do this. Yeah. Like, how?
Insane.
Like, yo, thinking back, we must have drove my mother crazy 1,000 times a day. Like, on the daily. Like, she must have wanted to,
have 4 kids and then 3 kids.
Get out. And oh man, much shout out to the moms. Like, I know that Father's Day is coming, and we're gonna touch on that soon, but I gotta give a lot of credit to the mothers. And I particularly want to talk about one example of a mother. This girl that I know, you know, I met her, and you know, she was a great person, but you know, we never like hit it off, you know, whatever, and respectfully, you know, she went through a lot. She was a single mother. She had a baby very young. I remember that she was living in a shelter for a while, for like a good period of time. But it's like now you fast forward, and I'm saying this only to put into perspective, not to like knock on dads or, you know, mothers that are single and you know
Yeah,
father like no,
it's not
it
that
has
short.
nothing to do with that.
Mm.
But I just want to give a much respect to women overall because they are so much stronger than men. And this example, she went from being a single mother who was living in a shelter with her son to graduating from a college to having her own place now to now engaged, and I think her wedding is hopefully not rescheduled. I think it's later on in the year or next year, sometime early next year. And it's just it goes to show you how devoted mothers can be, parents can be to their kids. You know,
Yeah, perseverance. For
perseverance, absolutely. And I want to give I want to say her name, but I won't because you know I don't want to
Sure. Yeah.
throw it out there. But she deserves a lot, and I know she follows. So I definitely wanted to say that story
Shout
because
out to you. You know
yeah,
who you are.
Shout out to you. You know who you are.
Yeah, I think it's again like you said, moms we got to give utmost kudos. You know, from the womb to the delivery. Um, it's tough. It's an emotional attachment, and parenting in general. I mean, shout out to the parents who were just doing their job.
Yeah,
It's as
man.
simple as that sounds,
And just making it through.
and just making it through. It's not easy, and I think admitting that and you know shining a light on that. It's not easy. It's sometimes it sucks.
It does.
Sometimes it's amazing. You know, like again, it's not always good, not always bad. But if you just doing your regular thing and then being a parent every day to your child,
That's a blessing on
that's a
itself,
highlight
man.
in itself.
Yeah.
And you know, again, through the situation, through COVID, through you know being locked in, that's stuff you take for granted.
Absolutely.
You know, you're too hard on yourself sometimes. You know, wanting to do so much, like you're there, you're present.
That's
That's
more yo.
Underrated.
I
Yeah.
remember that I was having this conversation with one of my coworkers, and they were like, "Oh, you know, you're such a great dad. Like you're always posting about your son." I'm like, "Yo, listen, the posts are great. They are. You know what I mean? Like I love showing off my son because, to be honest, that's my proudest like moment ever.
Mhm.
You know, I've done a lot of good things in my life, some great things, but definitely a lot of good things, and none of them, they don't even hold a candle to
Yeah,
to
can't.
Matthew. I feel so proud of when he took his first step, when he took his first fall, which sucked, but he did. You know, kids, it
course.
happens. But yeah, like I don't want to say that it's like a thing where like I'm bragging about being a dad. It's not. It's not about bragging. It's just like you're so overwhelmed with joy, like
Yeah.
that. I'm so happy that like I get to raise this little human, you know. And yeah, listen, you're absolutely right. It's not all cakes and rainbows all the time. It's not, you know, sometimes there's days where like you just make it to the end of the day and you're like, oh,
Can't
thank
wait for him to go to
God."
sleep.
Yeah, dude. When before, you know, when I was like more into working and stuff like that, there came a day where I was off and I was on a Saturday. Kathy goes to work. She goes to work and she works her regular 9 to 5 or 10 to 5, whatever it is on Saturdays, and she comes home. I never in my life have ever been so
I think you
drained.
told me this story. Yeah.
Ever.
Just handed
I
Maddie at the
literally,
door.
as soon as she walked in, I was like, yo, here you
I
go.
remember.
I'm out. And why? Because that day he didn't take a nap, and that was the first time he ever did it with me. You know, normally he always takes a nap. That day, for whatever reason, most parents, I know you guys can relate. Yeah, he didn't want to take a nap, and there's no making him take a nap. So,
I haven't had those horror stories, thankfully.
oh man,
Anytime the missus has been out and it's just me and the girls, like that's when they're on their best behavior. Hint, hint. But yeah, no, I mean, I still feel like you know exhausted, but I almost feel like again in that same aspect where, you know, I want to just get stuff done right now. I have to. Kind of the
Yeah.
same thing. I kind of you know have to coach myself up. Like okay, Dom, like they're just being kids sometimes,
Exactly.
and you know, but it's still awesome watching them grow, watching them laugh, watching what they pick up.
absolutely.
Watching when they know I'm doing something and then they could turn around like normally like when Samara's laying down we're watching TV or something, you know, I'll just kind of massage her hair, play with her hair a little
Yeah.
bit. Again, it'll be a couple weeks down the line, maybe a couple months. Even now, like, you know, I'll pretend to lay on her and see what she's doing and then she'll just kind of like her arm in this. I'm just like, ah, this is the moment that I was waiting for. This is the payoff for me. So like just those little things. I mean, it's just so awesome being a dad and just being able to plant my little percentage of me
in there.
inside of this human being and then watch them do what their interpretation of me is, you know, and see if they're exactly mimicking me, which sometimes they're pretty spot on at doing. Because it's funny, the girls, sometimes we ask them like, oh, like I'll do mimic, like I'll do Mila, and Mila's we call her Ñoña, she's a crybaby at times. So like when I do Mila, I'll be like, oh, look at me, I'm Mila. And then with Samara, you know, she's 13, 14 now. So her whole thing is like, oh, I'm 4 years old. So I'll be like, oh, look at me, I'm Samara. I'm 4 years old. And, you know, I'll do mommy. And then, you know, usually Joanna's like yelling for them like across the room. So I'll do that. So then, you know, I ask them, like, what does daddy do? Like, what does daddy do? And they'll put the mean eyebrow face and go, like that. I'm like, oh man, that's what I'm doing for. Which is funny because again, I've kind of scaled back again from like spanking them and things like that nature. Now, you know, I'm embracing my Hispanic side and you know, using the stares and the little grumbles because
like,
you know you should stop doing what you're supposed to be doing. So you know, unfortunately enough, they're always running around and we yell their name like 60 times a day. So sometimes, you know, I'm probably known because that's what really impacts them. That daddy has the name,
it's like
heavy eyebrows, but it's just so funny because again, and they know it's a joke because they'll do it and then they'll laugh. Like so, it's a relief where okay, they know daddy can be serious and you know daddy's has that grumble and those eyebrows, but they know okay, you know that's his daddy being daddy. Yeah. So yeah, those moments are just so funny and it's so awesome at the same time.
I can picture the eyebrow.
Oh man. Dude, Samara has my eyebrows. She's spot on with it. She is spot on. I'm like, okay, kid, don't get too smart on me, please.
I remember when we were kids. Well, I don't really like vividly remember, but my mom always recounts it to us. She's like, oh, you know, I hope that you know your son starts doing what you guys used to do to us. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Mm-hmm. She's like, yeah, you used to go into the oven and take out. Oh, by the way, Hispanic people, yeah, we put our pots and pans in the oven. I had no idea why.
I thought that was normal, but
I thought it was normal. Apparently, it's not. So we used to open it up, and I used to throw them out the window. And we live on the 5th floor.
Where did you even pick that up from? That is even.
I don't know. My mom always tells us the story, and she's like, "I can't wait till Matthew starts doing stuff like that to you." And I'm like, "Why? Why would you wish that on me?" Like,
you should live on the 5th floor, I guess.
Yeah, like. First of all, why are you letting me do that? And she's like, oh, you know, sometimes you just want to walk away and like catch your breath. And then you walk away for 2 minutes and it's like you go back and it's like it's you guys are throwing pots and pans out the window. And I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah, you would have been dead. Yeah. 2020, you throwing pots out the window? No, that's not happening.
So the other day, Matthew, he likes to go underneath the stove or whatever. Kathy has like all her baking tins there. So he likes to take them all out and then run around the house and put them all over the place. So the other day I was eating dinner and I decided to sit down at the table. Normally I just eat like right there on the kitchen island. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna go sit down on you know whatever. I think I was actually touching my laptop. I was trying to look up stuff for this. So I'm like, yeah, you know whatever. And I go to move my foot and all I hear is dink. I'm like, something fall out of this thing? I look down. There's all of the baking tins are on the floor. And I thought of my mom.
Where did you get it from? Oh, you still put them in your?
Yeah. Think I'm gonna change that?
Hey, listen.
I grew up that way.
It came up. I don't know. Maybe you wanted to change something.
No.
That's funny.
Dude, so seeing that, I was like, wow, this is what my mom probably felt like. I mean, not to that extent.
That's crazy how he didn't, like the kids don't have to see things. I'm truly convinced that stuff is like embedded in our DNA.
Absolutely.
Like, how could he have ever
Why
known
would
that?
you want to do
what
that?
What intuition did he have to be like, oh, pots, oven?
Okay,
yes.
let me go get them. Like
no, I'm convinced they're extract, well, I guess science, whatever, having babies, XY chromosome. But they take some of that with them.
I will say this though, kids, whatever they see, man.
Oh,
instantly. It's like Matthew picks up everything that we do. So the other day, Kathy was power washing the outside or whatever. She wanted to feel cool using the power wash. I'm like, all right, fine, cool.
It's very empowering, though.
It is. It is. So she's using it, and then I wanted to clean off the table, the little table that we have outside, because Matthew takes his chalk and he draws on it. So I was trying to like clean it off. So I put my foot on top of it so it didn't blow away, right? So I started doing it. Matthew comes over and he puts his foot up there. I'm like, what are you doing? And then he started going like this. I'm like, you don't have a power washer. What are you doing?
You gotta get him one now.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's another thing.
Oh wait, and I saw you had the
lawnmower.
the
little one?
with the lawnmower. You have the broom.
Yeah. Well,
You have the whole cleaning set down there.
yeah, because
I should have done that. 'Cause my girls don't know how to clean. Messed up.
dude, so normally what we used to do is like every day, especially like as soon as we moved in, I was like it was like a thing. Like I was possessed. I needed to clean every day because
no.
I didn't want to see the house get dirty, especially like, you know, after we renovated everything. So I'm like, no. Like everything has to be clean like every day. And Kathy's favorite term is, everything has to be like people don't live here. Like I wanted to look like people don't live here. Like you're just going for like a walkthrough through a house. And I'm like, yeah, with a baby. Yeah, that's never gonna happen.
That's hard to do. You see my house.
Yeah,
It's hard to
well,
do.
you've seen. So I tell her, I'm like, you know, whatever. So I'm cleaning with the vacuum. So then one day I hung the vacuum up, and Matthew goes over and he starts wanting to play with it. So I'm like, he just saw like a big thing.
He wants
Kids,
to
whatever. He wants to play with it. So I hand it to him. So he starts walking around with the vacuum. He's not pushing the button though, but he's walking around with it. So I'm like, I wonder where he got that from. Like, why would you know to clean? Then the other day, picks up the broom. He starts sweeping with it, and I'm like, is this kid really like trying to clean? But it goes back to that. It's like what they see is what they will do, 100% of the time.
Not always, because my girls. I've been vacuuming. I mean, I try to play games with them with the vacuum. Like, I'm gonna get you. I think maybe I just scared them from using the vacuum. They sure aren't picking it up.
Oh no, Matthew, like he loves it. He loves to clean. I mean, granted, it was cute at first, but like now it's like now we bought him the little mini vac or whatever, the Dyson one, like his size, the kid one.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
now
yeah.
he wants to vacuum the walls, and that's obviously not what it's for. So,
I mean, hey,
I mean, they're probably dusty.
he's
so
already a
go for
step
it.
ahead of my girls. My girls don't even want to look at a vacuum, let alone a broom, let alone pick up their toys all over the living room.
Oh,
I'm just
man.
venting. Just hold on a second.
Let me let this out, guys.
Yeah,
man.
it's awesome. And Father's Day is here.
It's looming, yeah.
It's our day. And it's kind of weird. I mean, obviously, I think all holidays, birthdays have been weird during this time.
Yeah, man.
I know Mother's Day was rough because Mother's Day, you know, we're in the middle of the pandemic. It's kind of hard to, you can't, you know, normally go out to do that Mother's Day
breakfast or whatever.
Even getting gifts, it's like, okay, you're either going to get the gift 6 weeks later, you can't go to a store to get it.
That was true.
And, you know, this weekend for Father's Day, you know, where I've had conversations like, you know, I want to do something, like it's Father's Day, and she, you know, she's very like, I like to do stuff for you, for events, stuff like that. I'm like I'm fine with and I'm always more on the simple side. Like, you give me a churrasco,
we're good to go.
Meal, I'm good. I don't need to go anywhere. I don't need to be having any parties.
I'm not high maintenance. Like,
and this year is no different. I mean, it feels weird because, you know, even when I say it, you still want to go and do your own thing. And now it's just like, well, you have no choice now.
Like, this is what it's really happening.
So, you know, same aspect where, you know, she kind of feels bad. I'm like, listen, I don't just say it to say it. Like, I'm a very simple person.
Yeah.
Give me a meal, give me breakfast and dinner.
Yeah, man. I like to say the same thing. Like, I'm very simple. Like, I never, like Kathy will always ask me, like, oh, what do you want? Or, like, she'll try to, like pick up on what it is that, like, I'm trying to get, like, whatever it is at that moment. Mm-hmm. And normally, most of the time, I'm like, no, you know, like, don't worry about it. Like, just give me whatever you want. Like, it's cool. Like, you know, whatever.
Yeah,
I just want to
hard answer that nobody wants to hear.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm like, look, you know what? Like, you know, we can have breakfast or like a brunch, you know, especially with her parents, because like now, like everything they did for us, like I really want to like
involve them,
you know. I would love to spend it with my mom too, or whatever, like just like, you know, enjoy it. Matthew's godfather is my older sister's husband, so my brother-in-law.
Okay, I need to do the math on that.
Yeah. So I would like to spend it with them too, but like, you know, like everybody, like with the COVID and like, you know, everybody's like really sheltering in place and like kind of like holding back on spending money. Like, I get it. But yeah, I would really like to do that. But most of the time I'm just like, no, don't worry about it. Like, you know, whatever. This year though, like I picked out like little knickknacks. Like, I wanted like this book. It's from the dad or whatever.
That's
So
what
it
it's
has
called?
it has like a whole bunch of dad sayings and stuff like that, like and jokes. Like
Dad jokes
yeah,
coming your way.
exactly. So I wanted that because of that, like like little things. And yeah, like she told me flat out, she was like, look, like we'll get it eventually, but like I can't guarantee like it's gonna get here before, because of everything going on. And I'm like, look, I get
All
it.
that stuff is minimal. I mean,
Yeah.
it's great. It's more of I like take Father's Day as a recognition to obviously the.
Yeah.
It sounds weird. I want to kind of break that stereotype because for those men who stepped up
No.
and did not no to all the dads out there, to all the fathers,
Yes.
plain and simple. Just again recognition of them, kind of like we recognize and put our mothers and ladies on a pedestal. I think now's a good transition to really cut the bias and cut the stereotypes of calling it stepping up.
Yeah.
Because I found it, and I mentioned this to Joanna one time because it was earlier when I just had Samara, and she had mentioned something, I think, about like her going out and like me taking care of Samara. It's like, are you okay, like taking care of her? I'm like, so am I okay taking care of my daughter, being a dad to my? Is that what you're asking me?
Is that like really?
Like, do I gotta get this offensive for you to realize? And I get the question. Don't get me wrong. I'm not oblivious to again stereotypes and biases that have been portrayed on fatherhood in general. But I'm here. I've been here.
Like, it's okay.
I never have one foot out the door. Like, don't insult me asking me if I can take care of my own daughter. Like, I don't play that game. Like, I take that offensively.
Yeah, I remember Kathy always used to do that. Like, I remember at the beginning of our relationship, she'd be like, look, like, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this, you have to do that. And I'm like, you do realize that, like, I've been around kids, like, my entire life. Like, this isn't something, like, you're just dropping a bomb on me, and I'm like, oh, my God, I don't know.
You do realize I know how to take a bath, right?
like I do this, too, like.
And that was funny, you mentioned that. There was one story, again, we just had Samara at the time. And she had, again, one of her toy show conventions, either in Florida or Vegas.
Yeah.
Whatever the case is. So I'm home with Samara, and she was fairly newborn. You don't take them a bath every day or every day or whatever. So during that week she was out, obviously one of those days I had to take Samara a bath. So she's like making sure everything. Okay, make sure you use the soap. Make sure you use the soap. Blah, blah. And you might have seen the picture I put out on Instagram of me being at the spot. But literally I basically put Samara in the bath, and then I went to go grab the dishwashing soap from the kitchen. So, she kept like giving me all these directions. And I'm like, cool, like this is the soap I use, right? And put the dishwasher soap right next to the tub with Samara. And she was like, I hate you. I'm like, I'm just saying, I know how to.
Like, come on, man.
I get it. We don't get everything right.
No, listen, look, man. There's tons of things.
I get it, but I know how to take my daughter a bath. Like
come on.
Don't insult me. But yeah, that was my highlight. That was my highlight dad joke of the year. That year.
Yeah, man. I remember that Kathy always used to tell me things like that. There was one time I actually felt bad, man, because like, I saw what Kathy went through. You know what I mean? Like, you're there. You see what they go through, like physically, mentally, like emotionally. How draining it is to carry a child for 9 months to to change and deal with like how your body changes and you have to adapt and like I've been there for that, so I appreciate it more. You know what I mean? So Kathy, one time I told her, I'm like, look, you need to get out of the house. You're on maternity leave. I get that, and I appreciate it. But like, you need to go out. Like, go have like a spa day. Go get a mani pedi. Like, go do something that you would normally do. Go get a cup of Starbucks.
Yeah,
go
sit down.
Like, just get out of here. And I felt so bad because she went. And
all the way.
And she went. No, dude. She went down the block. She forgot her Uggs she wore her Uggs. She forgot her slippers or whatever it was. So she came back home after the Starbucks was up the block from us at the time, and she came back home and she was trying to open the door and I was rocking him, I think, so I couldn't get up. And she dropped her coffee and she just opened the door and I'll never forget. Like, I remember her crying. Like, she just broke down. She was like, "This is why I don't want to go out anymore." And I'm like, "No, like you still have to go. Like, it's okay. Like, this happens. Like, just go." She's like, "But now I spilled my coffee." I'm like, "It's right down the block. Just go get another one. Like, it's fine. Go."
Yeah, like I gave you this time. Take the time.
And she was like, "No, because like I'm worried. Like, I don't know if you're gonna be able to give him a bath. I don't know if you're gonna be able to like put him down to sleep. Look, he's not sleeping." I'm like, "Yeah, he doesn't go to sleep like right away ever. Like, it's okay. He's gonna cry for a little bit. Like, I'll rock him, he'll soothe him, and he's gonna go to sleep. That's it."
Obvious things we know, and I guess again, and gonna go full circle with. I guess this is the the revelation or the full circle where again this is where the overworking and stuff and being in tune and I guess
Yeah.
having our significant others realize we're in tune
Yes.
versus again we're always on the go like okay are we really picking anything up, did he really hear me when I said this,
Did he get that? Did he catch that?
I mean
Yeah.
I'm more the type where I'm less reactive and I'm more like okay I'm absorbing it, I heard
Yeah.
you and then I'll just do it because I heard it, I got it. But I think people still need, especially our significant others, that acknowledgement or that assurement that okay he heard me, that do this, and again that's a stereotype that's just been there based off of
Of
life.
past times, yeah, and yeah, look, things are different now. You know what I mean? Like you can't. I mean, me personally, I always like to reflect on my parents. You know what I mean? Before, my dad used to be the only one working in the house. And he provided for 5 kids and my mom and the food, and we never went hungry again. Like just to put it out there like that, like I never went hungry. I mean, granted, I never had everything I ever wanted, but I never asked for something and didn't get it. You know what I mean? So like, I respect the hard work that he put in for that. I respect my mom for always having our clothes washed, our food on the table. Which now, like looking back at that, I don't know how you manage with that many kids, considering the fact that like it's difficult for me and Kathy. And like I just think about that. Like I'm like, yo, you know what? Like just with one kid, like how much more you have to, put out energy or things like that. So like I definitely want to say like I appreciate it more, but at the same time like things are different now. It's not just the mom doing everything at the house. Like it's more of teamwork. There's days I come home and Kathy's like perfect example. Like right now, I'm supposed to be putting Matthew to sleep, but he's downstairs by the way. So Kathy's like, look, I know you're doing this, so like I'll help out. Like I'll do the on this thing. So I try to give back, and then on the weekends when I'm home on Sundays, I try to let Kathy sleep in. Like I pick Matthew up, I give him his first feed, I change his diaper, I bring him downstairs, I make his breakfast. Why? Because like I appreciate the fact that she's willing to help me out with this.
Yeah, again, it's a teamwork. Again, kind of like mentioned episode 1. Once you feel like one side's resenting more than the
other, it's like no, time out.
It's like nah, you're gonna do your part because
we got to talk about this.
So again, and this Father's Day for this weekend, maybe more of an incentive, but for that just to be more present. Because again, I know I used to do it myself, where it's kind of like I already do this, I already do that. Now I got to yes, you got to do that, bro.
Yep.
Like you do, and again that. Macho, I don't want to call it macho because it's not macho, man. It's just
it's
like
not
that
really
way
macho.
Of thinking where you
it's
like
you're
the worker, or the hunter.
Yeah.
And everything else is just based off of okay, well I got to bring the food home and then that's it. Like,
and then that's it. But it's like no, like when you get home, you still gotta help out.
You gotta help out, be present, and keep being present. Like
and be involved, man.
Yeah, I want my child to be more like me than my wife. Like, and that's not an insult, but I would love for Samara and Mila to grow up with me, and I can see me and them like so clearly because it's and again, it's not a knock that my wife's a horrible person, but that would give me pride, like to know, hey, they took so much of their dad because I was present.
Yeah. I taught them that. Like I remember they got that from me. Like that's me right
that
there.
intuition, that drive, that was me.
That was me. Exactly.
And I want that to be assured because again, we mentioned in the last episode, sometimes things can be taken based off of how somebody else sees it. Like, no, I want them to understand it from my perspective, to understand why I do this, have those conversations and just, again, be present, be active. And again, give your significant other, your baby mama, whatever that category falls in. This is not a, husband-wife podcast. Listen, whatever your situation is, be a dad.
Yeah,
Just
man.
be the best dad and be the dad you would want for yourself.
Yep.
As simple as that.
Exactly. Like, I always think about it, right? Like, perfect example, like me and you, right? So you always tell me how your father wasn't very involved, active, right? But, for me, my father was very involved. But I always like to look at it from both perspectives. So my father was very involved, so I would want to be involved. But then I remember something that you said, and I can't remember if it was at the wedding or if it was at the wedding party announcement. When you had the engagement party and you were talking about, who's going to be in it or whatever. I remember that you said something, and it stuck with me. And you said that you showed me how to be a dad, even if you didn't show me.
Ah, yes.
And I appreciated that so much because it's true. Even if your dad wasn't involved, which, it's a rough situation and obviously, whatever. But however it turned out, you still took it as, you know what, I don't want to be just like that. I want to be more involved.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's just again perspective of having other father figures in my life and men who I've seen do it. So
Yeah.
I was able, thank God, to put some understanding behind it because I also didn't have someone talking to me like this is how this goes.
Yeah, exactly.
So I thank God every day that I was able to translate that into something positive because again it could have gone left.
Exactly.
Where
Yeah.
I would think that's what dads or what parenting was all about and that's not always the case.
It's not though.
But again, this is a challenge for all the fathers or for all the fathers out there, for Father's Day to be active, be more active. Again, and it's not saying okay you should be active.
No.
If you already are, be
Great.
more.
Be more.
That's all.
Yeah.
I'm kind of challenging any dad listening today, any obstacles and things of that nature. Just want it. It's almost like like you want to be in shape, but you only want to do so much.
Exactly.
Like
It's like I want to be in shape, but I still want that junior bacon cheeseburger.
I still want a junior bacon cheeseburger. I still just want to sit down and not do anything. If you want to break down this bias, just like me and Ralph do,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to step up more and do more, and that's just because that's just the platform that's been put before us.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that we stop doing it. Again, just like when
No.
people come up in regular life, regardless if you're rich or poor, you gotta work to get to where you have to
Exactly.
go. So just because you're poor or you're not as well off as somebody else doesn't mean you stop working.
Exactly.
You just gotta push harder and you gotta want it. It's for the love of your children. I think. Again,
I think that love of your children, that's what it is.
that has to be the drive.
Yeah. Like I think that's like the fuel for the car. You know what I mean? Because again, like I've never wanted to do more things like before as I do now. Like now it's like no, it's like all go right now. Like I need to do more and more and more and more and more and more. And the more I do, the more I want to do.
Yeah, I mean, what is the be content but never satisfied.
Yes. Yes.
I'm not ungrateful for what I have, but at the same time, like if I
want
can set
more.
my daughters up for a lifetime of success and an ease of life, I will strive for that all day. But with the same mindset that that I also let them know that I'm there.
Yeah.
And
You
I'm
can't sacrifice
emotionally
that.
Detached from
Yeah.
because I want so much for them and not what they want. This is what I want from them.
Exactly.
Keep that in consideration too.
Hey, yeah.
I
I was actually talking to one of my friends, Danny, the other night, and I told him, I'm like, look, I was talking to this girl. She's a good friend from high school. She recently reached out to me. She said, hey, listen, like, I'm actually like looking to buy a house, like, whatever. But like I don't know if we're gonna be able to get that much money together and blah blah. And I'm like, listen, look, and this is exactly what I told Danny, and this applies to everything in your life. I think you should never change the goal. The goal should always remain.
Yep.
100%. You have to change the strategy. The strategy can always be flexed. Hey, look, you know what? I want to save this much for this. I want to do this. I want to get married. I want to buy this. I want to whatever the goal is, keep the goal. The goal should never change. However, you have to get there, your strategy should adjust.
Yeah.
But the goal should remain the same. So if you want to buy a house, the best advice I can give you is adjust your strategy. If it's going to take you 10 years because you want to go get Starbucks coffee every day, caramel macchiato, whatever venti it
Wendy's
is.
4 for 4,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Shout
out to Wendy's.
Yeah, shout out to Wendy's again. Yeah, just sacrifice. Put yourself in a place where it's like, you know what, give yourself discipline. Yeah, you know what, that's only $4, but $4 over the course of a week, spanned out over the course of a month times 12 months for the year, like it adds up, man. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
And those pennies, they equate so much more than what people give it value for.
Agreed.
So to me, I always want to say that, like to everybody, don't change the goal. The goal is whatever you want. Don't ever settle for something less. Get your goal. Adjust the strategy.
We're doing life podcasts now. It's not just about that. It's about life. But we're coming up to an hour. We're gonna cut it right here, just because again, we did 15 minutes left, so we'll keep bringing it down. Hopefully you guys
we're gonna try and wind it down for you guys.
Still ride with us the rest of the way. But thank you guys for listening in on episode 2. Feel free to contact us on any social media. If there's anything you want us to talk about, touch on, want perspective on, we are more than welcoming to any ideas and thoughts that you guys may have that we can talk about and hopefully get some insight.
Absolutely. Before we end this session, I just want to point out to everybody, like, we're just here trying to bring down all these imaginary walls and all these biases about what a father should be or what a father was before. Like, now, we want a dad to be able to do everything. You know, that's a super dad. That's a real dad. You know.
Yeah.
And now it can't just be, you know, the wife does everything and at home, and, you know, the dad just goes to work and makes money. Like, no, you have to be involved. You have to show your kids. You have to give them a better example than what was given to us. You know, I want to say that, you know, for me personally, I want to say that as a father, you adapt to things differently as time evolves. You know, you don't want to have your son grow up to be something less than what you would want him to be. You know, and again, every kid is going to grow up and be their own person and grow up to be that, but you have to give them the tools, the knowledge, the know-how, the examples for them to at least stand a chance, you know, in modern society. So again, if anybody has anything that they want to talk about or wants us to bring up as a topic of conversation, especially dads, moms too, everybody, but especially dads, like, we want to hear from the dads. We want to know what it is that you guys are a little bit hesitant to speak about, whether it be your emotions, whether it be working, things in the house, stuff like that. And we want to hear those things so we can address them, because it shouldn't be something where we keep it hidden anymore.
Yeah, great. So again, if anybody has any insights, male, female, or other, feel free to leave a comment down. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can contact us on Instagram at Calling All Dads.
Yep.
We're also on Twitter at the CAD Podcast. Where else are we? Oh, stay tuned for our TikTok. My daughter is a superstar, so it's gonna get.
She's itching for that.
It's gonna get fun. But again, feel free to reach out. We're more than open. No judge zone. We're here for you guys. So,
guys, thank you again for coming through. We appreciate it. Again, like, subscribe, follow, and definitely share.
yep. Catch you guys in the next episode.